The conversation about extremism has shifted. It's no longer just about hateful words shouted at rallies or angry manifestos posted in obscure corners of the internet. Today, a far more tangible and alarming reality has taken root. We are seeing white supremacist and far-right extremist groups arming themselves with a level of sophistication that was once the exclusive domain of national militaries. This isn't speculation or a far-off possibility. It is a documented trend, unfolding in plain sight and in the shadows. The danger has evolved from a matter of ideology to one of capability, where hateful beliefs are being paired with the means to enact catastrophic violence on a scale that demands our urgent attention. The reason this issue has become so pressing is the convergence of several dangerous factors. We have disaffected individuals with specialized military training, the global reach of the internet, and the accessibility of advanced technology. Together, these elements have created a perfect storm. It allows small, once-fringe groups to acquire or develop weaponry that can challenge law enforcement and threaten public safety and critical infrastructure. Understanding how these weapons are ending up in the wrong hands is not merely an academic exercise. It is a critical step in confronting a threat that is growing more organized, more ambitious, and more dangerous with each passing day. This essay aims to shed light on the specific methods these groups use to arm themselves. We will look at real-world examples, drawing from recent events and investigations that have peeled back the layers of this clandestine world. The picture that emerges is one of a complex and multifaceted network. It involves everything from brazen theft from military bases to the quiet weaponization of everyday consumer electronics. The individuals involved range from combat veterans to tech-savvy young people, radicalized entirely online. By examining their methods, we can begin to grasp the full scope of the challenge we face. The story of how extremists get their hands on advanced weapons is a story about vulnerabilities in our institutions, in our technology, and in our society. It's a sobering look at how the tools of the modern world can be twisted to serve a dark and violent agenda. The goal here is not to sensationalize the threat, but to explain it directly and factually. The stakes are simply too high to ignore. The safety of our communities depends on our ability to understand and counter this growing danger before it escalates further. It's a quiet arms race, and for now the other side is making alarming progress. One of the most direct and disturbing routes for advanced weaponry to fall into extremist hands is through those who once swore to protect us. Military veterans, armed with insider knowledge, security clearances, and a familiarity with logistical systems, are uniquely positioned to exploit vulnerabilities within the very institutions they served. They know what equipment is valuable, where it is stored, and how the inventory systems can be manipulated. This inside access bypasses many of the traditional barriers to acquiring military-grade hardware, making it a particularly effective method for groups seeking to upgrade their arsenals with items that are simply not available on the civilian market. A stark example of this phenomenon came to light with the case of Sovereign Solutions, an LLC registered in March 2023 by two military veterans. Over a period of about 2 years, they allegedly used their credentials and know-how to systematically steal a wide range of military equipment. The list included advanced rifle scopes, night vision devices, and body armor. This wasn't a simple smash-and-grab operation. It was a calculated exploitation of trust and access. The stolen gear was then resold, arming like-minded individuals and funding their operations. The entire scheme only unraveled in June 2025 during an attempted theft, leading to their arrest and the discovery of a chilling scene. When authorities finally moved in on the Sovereign Solutions operators, they found more than just stolen military gear. They uncovered a weapons stockpile, $20,000 in cash, and a disturbing collection of Nazi paraphernalia. This discovery laid bare the ideological motive behind the thefts. It wasn't just about profit. It was about equipping a movement. The presence of Nazi symbols confirmed that the stolen equipment was being channeled directly into the white supremacist ecosystem. This case serves as a powerful reminder that the skills and access granted to service members can, in the hands of radicalized individuals, be turned against the society they were trained to defend. The Sovereign Solutions case is not an isolated incident, but rather an illustration of a systemic vulnerability. The immense size of the military-industrial complex with its sprawling bases and vast quantities of equipment makes a perfect accounting of every single item a monumental task. Extremists with military backgrounds understand this reality. They know which forms to fill out, which warehouses are less secure, and which supply sergeants might be less diligent. This inside job is a critical pipeline, feeding the most dangerous elements of society with the tools of modern warfare, one stolen piece at a time. It's a betrayal that strikes at the heart of national security. In the digital age, the marketplace for extremist hardware is no longer confined to shadowy back-alley deals. Instead, it has moved online, operating with a brazenness that is often hidden in plain sight. Groups like Sovereign Solutions didn't just steal equipment, they built a sophisticated online brand to sell it. They established a public-facing website and operated social media accounts on popular platforms like Instagram and YouTube. These platforms became their digital storefronts, used to display stolen military gear, promote their white supremacist ideology, and even offer tactical training to their followers. It's a modern, tech-savvy approach to arming a hateful movement. The branding used by these online entities is often deliberately coded, employing symbols and language that are understood by those within the movement, but may fly under the radar of casual observers or platform moderators. Sovereign Solutions, for instance, used logos that subtly mimicked Nazi symbols like the SS runes and the Black Sun. This dual-language approach allows them to build a community and signal their extremist credentials to potential buyers while maintaining a veneer of plausible deniability. Their posts would showcase high-end tactical gear, often modeled by individuals in combat attire, creating an aspirational and professional image that appeals to their target audience of extremists and sympathizers. The reach of these online networks is often transnational, connecting extremists across borders. The Sovereign Solutions investigation revealed a client list that reportedly included individuals within the United States Army, the United States Coast Guard, and even the Royal Australian Air Force. This indicates a sprawling network of active duty personnel and veterans who are not only consumers, but also potential suppliers of stolen equipment. Social media acts as the connective tissue, facilitating communication and commerce within this global extremist subculture. A transaction for a stolen rifle scope can happen as easily as ordering a book online, linking a seller in one country with a buyer in another. Despite their public-facing nature, these online operations have proven difficult to shut down. The use of coded language and the sheer volume of content on major platforms make effective moderation a significant challenge. As seen in the Sovereign Solutions case, even after the founders' arrests made national news, their Instagram and YouTube accounts remained active for weeks, continuing to serve as a beacon for their followers. This highlights a critical failure point in the fight against extremism. While one platform might eventually take action, the network can simply migrate to another, demonstrating a resilience and adaptability that continues to outpace enforcement efforts. The proliferation of advanced, commercially available technology has opened up a new and terrifying frontier for extremists: the weaponization of everyday devices. Drones in particular have emerged as a significant threat. Once the preserve of militaries and professional filmmakers, high-quality drones are now affordable and easy to operate, putting a powerful surveillance and delivery system into anyone's hands. For white supremacist groups and lone actors, these devices offer an asymmetric advantage, allowing them to plan and execute attacks with a level of sophistication that was previously unattainable without state-level resources. They can be used for reconnaissance, for propaganda, or, most chillingly, as delivery vehicles for explosives. The plot uncovered in November 2024 involving Skylar Philippi, a 24-year-old from Tennessee, is a chilling case study in this trend. Philippi was arrested in an FBI sting operation for allegedly planning to use a drone laden with explosives to attack a power plant in Nashville. His plan was to cripple the electrical grid, sowing chaos and potentially inciting wider social collapse, a key goal for many accelerationist extremist groups. This case demonstrates a clear and calculated intent to use readily available consumer technology to target critical infrastructure. The barrier to entry for this type of attack is terrifyingly low. It requires little more than a drone, some basic knowledge of explosives, and a hateful ideology. The strategic appeal of using drones for terrorism is multifaceted. They allow an attacker to strike from a distance, minimizing their own risk of being captured or killed during the act. They can access locations that would be difficult to reach on foot, such as the tops of buildings, secure compounds, or sensitive components of infrastructure like power transformers. Furthermore, the psychological impact of a drone attack is significant, creating a sense of vulnerability and fear that can be disproportionate to the physical damage caused. The idea that a threat can come from anywhere, silently from the sky, is a powerful tool of terror. This trend is not limited to the United States. Extremist groups globally are watching and learning from conflicts where drones have played a pivotal role, adapting military tactics for their own purposes. Online forums and chat groups are filled with discussions about the best types of drones to use, how to modify them to carry heavier payloads, and which targets are most vulnerable. The weaponization of consumer technology represents a democratization of advanced attack capabilities. It means that the next major terrorist threat may not come from a complex international network, but from a single individual in their garage with a credit card and an internet connection. Beyond just acquiring individual weapons, there's a much more organized and honestly alarming trend emerging: the rise of far-right groups that actually operate and train like paramilitary units. These groups aren't simply stockpiling guns. They're, actively preparing for armed conflict. They run drills, practice urban warfare tactics, and as a unit seek out military-grade equipment. This marks a significant escalation from the so-called lone actor model. It really shows a shift toward collective, organized violence with strategic goals, like overthrowing governments or even trying to start a race war. Their ambition is to become a credible fighting force, not just a scattered collection of individuals. What makes this even more concerning is that it's not just happening in one country. This is an international phenomenon, with extremist cells in different countries learning from each other and sharing tactics. For example, in November of 2024, German authorities arrested 8 members of a neo-Nazi group calling themselves the Saxony Separatists. This group wasn't just spreading hate speech. They were allegedly making concrete preparations for a violent coup. Investigators found that they had been conducting paramilitary training exercises, focusing specifically on urban combat scenarios, and were actively working to get their hands on military gear. Their goal was nothing less than the violent overthrow of the German government, which really demonstrates a level of ambition and organization that has security services across Europe deeply concerned. Often these groups blend survivalist training with explicitly white supremacist ideology, creating a subculture where being combat-ready is seen as essential for an expected societal collapse or race war. The training they do is usually pretty comprehensive. We're talking about not just firearms proficiency, but also field medicine, communications, and small unit tactics. They study military field manuals and analyze modern conflicts to refine their methods. This disciplined approach basically transforms a group of ideologues into a quasi-militia, capable of coordinated action, a much greater threat than a disorganized mob. And the procurement of equipment for these paramilitary groups goes hand in hand with their training. As they get more organized, their need for standardized, high-quality gear increases. They look for body armor, encrypted communication devices, and uniform weapon systems to boost their operational effectiveness. This, in turn, creates a dedicated market for the kind of equipment stolen by operations like Sovereign Solutions. So, the existence of these organized, training-focused groups actually provides a ready and willing customer base for illicit arms dealers. It's a dangerous feedback loop. Increased organization drives demand for better weapons, and the easier it is to get those weapons, the more organized and dangerous these groups can become. While some extremists steal weapons directly from the military, many others turn to more traditional, clandestine methods: the black market. Illicit arms networks, which have long supplied criminal organizations, have become a crucial source for white supremacist groups looking to build their arsenals. These shadow markets operate outside of all legal frameworks, offering access to a vast array of weaponry, from handguns and assault rifles to explosives and heavy-duty firearms that are otherwise unobtainable for civilians. For extremists determined to arm themselves for a perceived conflict, these networks provide a direct and untraceable path to acquiring the tools of violence. The international nature of these extremist movements means that the arms trade is also a global affair. A raid conducted by Argentine police in Buenos Aires in November 2024 provides a vivid example. Authorities uncovered a massive cache of firearms, ammunition, explosives, and a trove of Nazi materials. The investigation revealed that the weapons were linked to a far-right extremist network with connections across South America. This bust highlighted how groups are not just acquiring a few guns here and there, but are systematically stockpiling significant arsenals in preparation for future action. These weapons are often sourced from cross-border smuggling operations, tapping into regions with laxer gun laws or histories of armed conflict. The process of acquiring weapons through these networks is one of secrecy and trust. Extremists use encrypted messaging apps and dark web forums to connect with dealers and arrange transactions. Payment is often made using cryptocurrencies to avoid financial tracking. This digital underground allows buyers and sellers to operate with a degree of anonymity, making it incredibly difficult for law enforcement to penetrate these networks and disrupt the flow of arms. The sellers are typically motivated by profit and are indifferent to the ideology of their buyers, making them a reliable source for any group with enough cash. The result of this illicit trade is the creation of hidden arsenals across the country and the world. These stockpiles often come to light only after a violent act has been committed or through a lucky break in an investigation. The September 2025 mass shooting at a Minneapolis Catholic school was a tragic case in point. Before the attack, the perpetrator had showcased his extensive collection of weapons and ammunition on YouTube. The weapons were inscribed with a mix of white supremacist slogans and anti-government memes, a clear testament to his ideology. This individual had managed to amass a personal arsenal, likely through a combination of legal and illegal means, turning his home into a private armory for his hateful war. In addition to acquiring weapons through theft or black markets, a growing number of extremists are taking matters into their own hands by manufacturing their own armaments. This do-it-yourself approach to weaponry is particularly insidious because it is difficult to track and regulate. Using online tutorials, 3D printers, and readily available materials from hardware stores, individuals can construct untraceable firearms, known as ghost guns, or improvise other deadly weapons. This trend lowers the barrier to obtaining a weapon, allowing even those who are legally prohibited from owning firearms to arm themselves effectively and anonymously. The rise of 3D printed firearms is a significant development in this space. Blueprints and digital files for printing key components, such as the receiver of an AR-15, are shared freely in extremist online communities. While some technical skill is required, the technology is becoming more accessible and user-friendly every year. An individual can purchase a 3D printer for a few $100s and, with parts ordered legally online, assemble a fully functional, semi-automatic rifle with no serial number. This weapon is a ghost in the system. It doesn't officially exist, making it impossible for law enforcement to trace if it is used in a crime. Beyond firearms, extremists have shown a chilling resourcefulness in creating improvised weapons from everyday items. This can range from modifying legal products to make them more dangerous to building explosive devices from common chemicals. The ingenuity of these individuals should not be underestimated. The case of Ronald D. Yandel, a leader of the Aryan Brotherhood, demonstrates this point. While incarcerated in a high-security prison in November 2024, Yandel managed to construct an improvised weapon and use it in an attempt to murder 2 prison officers. If such a weapon can be created within the highly controlled environment of a prison, it is clear that the possibilities outside are nearly limitless. This DIY weapons culture is fueled by a vast online ecosystem of information sharing. Manuals, instructional videos, and manifestos that provide detailed instructions for bomb making and weapon modification are staples of extremist online libraries. These documents, some of which date back decades, are digitized and disseminated through encrypted channels, ensuring that the knowledge is preserved and passed on to a new generation of extremists. This creates a self-sufficient and resilient culture of armament, where the ability to create and use weapons is seen as a core tenet of the movement's ideology of self-reliance and resistance. In the modern extremist movement, propaganda has evolved far beyond simple recruitment posters or hateful texts. It has become a dynamic, interactive, and highly practical tool for armament and training. Online platforms are saturated with content that not only radicalizes individuals, but also provides them with the knowledge and motivation to carry out acts of violence. This propaganda often takes the form of slickly produced videos, memes, and manifestos that serve as a comprehensive playbook for the aspiring terrorist. It tells them what to believe, who to hate, and crucially, how to arm themselves and attack their perceived enemies. A clear example of this can be seen in the case of Patrick Gordon MacDonald, a Canadian member of the Adam Waffen Division, a neo-Nazi terrorist group. In November 2024, he was found to be producing and distributing propaganda that was explicitly instructional. The content featured individuals clad in combat gear, holding firearms and demonstrating tactical movements. These were not just images of defiance, they were visual manuals for armed action. The videos were designed to look professional and appealing, mimicking the style of military recruitment ads to attract and train new followers. This material effectively lowers the barrier to entry for violence by providing free, accessible, and motivating training. This new wave of propaganda is highly visual and meme-driven, making it perfectly suited for the fast-paced culture of social media. Extremist creators produce content that is easily shareable and emotionally resonant, often glorifying past mass shooters as saints or heroes of the movement. The weapons used in these attacks are analyzed, and the tactics are dissected and discussed in online forums. This creates a macabre feedback loop, where each act of violence generates new propaganda, which in turn inspires the next attacker. The perpetrator of the September 2025 Minneapolis shooting, for example, had inscribed his weapons with the names of other mass shooters, a direct reflection of this online culture of veneration. Furthermore, this online ecosystem provides a sense of community and validation for individuals who may be isolated in their daily lives. Through encrypted chat groups and niche forums, they can connect with like-minded people from around the world. In these spaces, they share tips on acquiring weapons, discuss potential targets, and encourage each other to escalate from online rhetoric to real-world action. The propaganda provides the why and the how, while the online community provides the support and encouragement to go through with it. It's a complete radicalization package, delivered directly to their screens. The arming of white supremacist groups with advanced technology is not a niche issue that only concerns law enforcement or targeted communities. It is a fundamental threat to the stability and safety of society as a whole. When extremist ideologies are combined with military-grade weapons, weaponized drones, and paramilitary training, the potential for catastrophic violence increases exponentially. The targets are often unpredictable. They can be places of worship, public utilities, schools, or shopping centers. The ambition of these groups is not just to harm individuals, but to terrorize entire populations and destabilize the very fabric of democratic life. This threat erodes public trust and security. The knowledge that organized, well-armed hate groups are operating within our communities creates a climate of fear and suspicion. It forces minority groups to live with the constant anxiety of being targeted. It places an immense strain on law enforcement agencies who are increasingly finding themselves outgunned and facing an enemy that is decentralized and difficult to track. The theft of military equipment by radicalized veterans represents a profound betrayal that undermines faith in our most trusted institutions, while the weaponization of commercial technology means the threat can emerge from anywhere, at any time. Confronting this danger requires a collective awareness and a multi-pronged response. It means technology companies must take more aggressive and consistent action to deplatform extremist content and disrupt their online networks. It requires our military and law enforcement institutions to strengthen internal security measures to prevent theft and vet personnel more thoroughly for extremist ties. It also demands that we, as a society, address the root causes of radicalization, the social isolation, economic anxiety, and political polarization that make people vulnerable to hateful ideologies in the first place. This is not just a problem of weapons, it is a problem of belief. Ultimately, the safety of our shared future depends on our willingness to recognize and confront this threat directly. Ignoring it or downplaying its significance will only allow it to grow stronger and more entrenched. The evidence is clear. These groups are organized, they are motivated, and they are actively arming themselves for a conflict they believe is inevitable. This is not a distant war in a foreign land. It is a battle for the safety of our own streets and the survival of our values. The stakes are incredibly high, and an informed, vigilant, and united public is our most essential line of defense. Awareness is the first and most critical step.